All right. Let's get to the first point. Why the blockchain? Why the blockchain? Again, like I said earlier, why is for me the most important question on any topic. Why? Once you know the why and you know the relevance of that technology, you can begin to appreciate it and see if you will pick interest in it. Because the idea is we are in school to learn, not just to pass exams or get grades, but to learn things that we can maybe in the future decide to specialize in. So let's see why the blockchain. To make it clearer, most of these things I'll be dropping them as bullet points. Then I'll be doing more of the explanation. Okay. So the first point I have here is the word decentralization. Decentralization slash removing the middleman. Okay. We can see on the slide, Oxford Dictionary defines centralization as the consecration of the control of an activity or organization under a single entity. Okay, remember the first point is decentralization, but decentralization doesn't seem to have come from itself. It seems to have been coined from a word, and the word is centralization. Okay, and according to what we see on the slide, centralization is the concentration of the control of an activity or organization under a single authority. Basically, what this is trying to say is we decide to put control of an activity or of something under in the hands of a selected few, in the hands of a single authority. This single authority can be a body, can be a corporation, can be an organization, but the idea is just that a lot of people decide to say, okay, let this body, let this entity, let this authority, let this person be in charge of the whole resources for us, or be in charge of something, in charge of an activity. So let me just repeat it again to make it clear. Centralization is basically a group. Let's say we have a group of people, and this group of people, amongst them, they decide to say, okay, let our resources or let this particular activity, let this thing be managed by this particular entity. So giving a single entity amongst many control over an activity, over some resources, over something is centralization. Okay, there's a single center authority to which everybody connects to get a benefit or to get something. Whereas decentralization, on the other hand, means that authority, that control over an activity is no longer being managed or held by a single authority. It's now dispersed amongst a lot of people. Okay, more than one authority. That is decentralization. And this is one of the things and one of the reasons why the blockchain is. This is one of the things the blockchain is really, really trying to do. It still looks gibberish, but let's take some example. Now, let's look at two people trying to bet. This is Mr. A. Don't mind my drawing, it can be crazy. But let's say this is Mr. A. Okay? And this is Mr. B. Let's say these guys are very close friends and they okay, let's take the Europa League as an example. Okay, let's say in the Europa League, 2021, there's a point in the Europa League where Italy, or let's say Spain, where Spain and France is going to play. Of course, these two nations are like very crazy guys in the league. So let's say Spain and France are going to play at some point, and Mr. A says Spain is going to defeat France, and Mr. B says no, France is going to defeat Spain, and this argument gets so heated that they decide to place a bet. Okay, Mr. A said, look, let's put in 100,000. Dollars, euros, pounds, naira, anyone. Mr. A said, I'm going to bring in 100,000. You bring in 100,000. And Mr. B agrees. So they both bring in 100,000. And they say, whoever wins, we get the whole money. So if Mr. A wins, Mr. B is going to give his 100,000 to Mr. A. And if Mr. B wins, Mr. A is going to give his 100,000 to Mr. B. Now, in a more formal setting, it is Mr. A and Mr. B would not just hold their money to themselves and expect that when the bet comes out, they will just give themselves the money. Usually, there could be this little trust issue that, hey, this guy might not give me. So to further stamp it or to further make this thing serious, what they will do is to bring in a third person, Mr. C. Isn't it? A lot of us might have experienced it before locally though. So Mr. A is going to give Mr. C his 100,000 naira. Mr. B is going to give Mr. C his 100,000 naira. Then at the end of the whole thing, after the Spain and France match, anyone who wins, Mr. C is going to give the total amount of money to that person. So what have Mr. A and Mr. B just done? They've brought in a middleman. And we see this a lot in businesses. We see this a lot in relationship between people. We see this a lot everywhere. When you want to do something with someone else, you have to bring in a lawyer, or you have to bring in a guarantor, or you have to bring in some middleman, kind of. Okay, but with the blockchain, it is possible for Mr. A and Mr. B to be able to still do this bet without having to bring in Mr. C. Of course, in this simple example, it looks as if bringing in Mr. C has not cost them anything. But in the real world, usually you have to pay to get the service of Mr. C. You have to pay him some money. He's going to take some charges for being in your middle. Just imagine you working on Fiverr, for instance. Fiverr is a kind of middleman system where people with skills, developers, I'm a developer, I have this skill, I go on Fiverr, I put my profile, people can come and contact me for a job. Fiverr is like the middleman, linking people who need a service to people who can provide the service. For software guys anyway, gigs and freelance people. So Fiverr is the middleman, and in that way, for just doing the linking, which is a good thing, but Fiverr gets a particular cut, or a particular amount of money. Okay, there are some charges they're able to get. So they're like the middleman. So in the real world, the middleman gets something. But on the blockchain, it is possible to totally remove this middleman. And these two people can place their bets, or two people can exchange services, and everything goes smoothly on the blockchain. So this is, we are just starting. So just have the idea that in the blockchain, we can do things where we no longer need a central person to connect us. We can connect directly with ourselves and do things, and everything still would go smoothly without conflict. Alright, let's look at the next naira on the slide. Next naira on the slide is the naira currency. I'm beginning to go more economical here. The naira currency. Of course, for most of us in Nigeria, I'm currently in Nigeria. I'm making this video from Lagos, Nigeria. At the Pan-Atlantic University, definitely. For most of us in Nigeria, we earn in naira. Apart from some of us that still have other things to do with other people outside. But a lot of people living in Nigeria earn in naira. If you are living in the US, you most likely earn in dollars. Okay, so the naira currency, basically, we can see clearly that it is losing purchasing power. Okay, there's a commodity that usually you would buy with 100 naira. Now you need 150 naira to buy that same commodity. The commodity has not changed, but you need more naira to buy the same amount of the commodity, meaning the naira has lost some amount of purchasing power, isn't it? So we might say there are a lot of economical reasons to this. A lot of economic factors currently playing that is causing naira to lose purchasing power. This is true. But at some point in history, the body in charge of the naira currency took a definite step to devaluate the naira. Took a definite step to make naira lose some purchasing power. They had some reasons for doing this. Perhaps it really favored them. But the point is, me and you are working and earning in naira, and someone somewhere took a definite step to cause naira to lose purchasing power, and all of us suffer for it. Why? Because there's a central authority in charge of naira. So you think I'm earning money and I'm in control of my money, but there's someone else that is in charge of the money you are earning and can cause it to get devaluated. So for those of us that do buy things online from other countries, you can imagine how many naira it takes to be able to get things in dollar. Usually, at some point in time, a dollar was about 200 and something naira. At some point in time, $1 was about 200 and something naira. But currently, as of today, a dollar is almost 500 naira. You can imagine that. So if you're earning in naira and you want to buy something online from the other nation, you want to import a device, you want to get something from the US, maybe you're an engineer, you're a software guy, or you're an electronics engineer, you want to buy a component, you need to spend more naira to be able to get what you could have spent less naira to get before. So you are earning in naira thinking you are in control of your finances, but there's another body regulating the naira that can determine the valuation of the naira. So in the real sense, you are not in control of your finances. So it sounds so crazy, but what I'm trying to point out here is this. The naira, which is a common thing to everybody in Nigeria, let's just say that, which is a naira currency, which is a common thing to everyone in Nigeria, is being controlled by a central authority. This central authority can make moves to devaluate it to cause it to lose purchasing power for some reasons they have, and these things can affect everyone. On the blockchain, it is possible to have a currency that is not controlled by a single entity. Of course, due to the recent Elon Musk tweet and all that, people want to argue this with me. But as we proceed down the course, I will be able to show you that actually not a single person can control a kind of currency if it runs on the blockchain. So on the blockchain, we can do away with this central body and still be able to enjoy anonymously our currency. Of course, we need, in the world outside the blockchain, there needs to be a body regulating the currency. There are a lot of economics reasons. I don't want to delve into that. There needs to be a body actually. So, but we can successfully take away this body and everything runs smoothly if we were to be using the blockchain. This is another reason why we say the blockchain really brings about decentralization, taking away the middle people. The other thing I have here is the bank and our money. The bank and our money. Okay, this one is still on the financial plane. Earlier this year, 2021, I think from January till March, my bank account was frozen. I could not access any money in my bank. It sounds so crazy, but of course, most of us might have experienced this before. And what caused it? There were just some little issues. I mean, little issue there and here and there. They said I opened the account as a student, and now I'm not a student. I need to come and upgrade my account, which is true. But I had to go for up to 3 months. So, but what I'm trying to bring out of this picture, I'm not even trying to make a complaint or anything, is to really point clearly to you that I think I'm working and I'm earning money and I have control over my finance. But as long as I've chosen to take my money and give it to a bank, the bank becomes like a central authority. Of course, I'm getting a lot of services from the bank. Okay, for instance, I want to transfer money to someone in Kaduna, Nigeria, or to someone in Los Angeles, for instance. I can't travel down to Los Angeles without giving them money. Even the currency might not be valid there. I will need the bank to do a lot of exchange for me and all that. So the bank is like a middleman. I mean, managing my money, helping me to keep it, enabling me to be able to do transactions with other people and make things smoother and cleaner for me, isn't it? So, but the idea I want to have is I have the control over my money. My money in the bank, I have control over it. That's the idea I should have. But the bank can go ahead and freeze my money so that I can't access my money anymore. The bank can go ahead and deduct some charges from my account even without me knowing, or they just make a new policy and say today we'll start making deducting social charges, and they really go ahead and deduct it. So take it or leave it. I don't have so much control of my money in the bank as much as I think, because I've brought in a central authority, a middleman, the bank. Let me share this experience with you. When I was trying to, one of the times when I was going to the bank, one of these 3 months when I was going to the bank to resolve my issue, there was this lady I met. She came into the bank and she deposited some money in the bank. Basically, she went to the bank, she signed. You know how we deposit money now? She had cash. So she was trying to do this transfer to someone in another state. And after depositing the money, she wanted to do the transfer. Okay, she went to another attendant. She went to do something, came back and went to another attendant to do a transfer of the money. The attendant said she couldn't. That the signature she used on the transfer slip is not the same as the signature they have on their database. And the lady was shocked. She was like, wait, I just deposited money into this account not so long ago with this signature. How would you say it's not the same signature and you didn't stop me when I was trying to deposit money? The lady was pissed, but till I was at the back then, I didn't really see any end to it. They could not do anything. They were trying to do some make her try to sign a lot of times. They were just trying to bring up a lot of other things, alternatives that she could use, but they were not able to resolve it there and then. Of course, which is another shortcoming on the technological aspect of that bank. But to cut long story short, imagine this lady had wanted to send this money ASAP for an health reasons, or she wanted to pay the admission fee of someone she needed to send it on, the admission fee was ending that day, or the money she just need to send it so urgently. She wouldn't be able to do that. And she, in her head, she would be believing, I have control over my finances. I have the money, I'm going to send it, the money is there, I can do whatever I want to do with it. But because the bank is like a central authority through which she's doing this, the bank also has a level of control over her account. So take it or leave it, she doesn't have that level of control she thinks she has. And all of us, basically, as long as we are using the bank, we don't have that level of control we think we have. But with the blockchain, I mean, ASAP, we can resolve this issue, and things can be more amicably without, things can be done more amicably without the bank. Things can be done smoothly without the bank. Okay. Again, the idea is this: the bank is, in this example, we see the bank as a central authority. Why we put all our money in the hands of the bank. We give them the control over this to help us manage it. But with the blockchain, we can still have this control over our money, be able to do things and enjoy the benefits of the bank without the banks. So the blockchain can decentralize our finances. Okay, all these examples have been given seem to be around finance. Another one is elections. Okay, elections. This is a very common one also. During elections, of course, the idea of elections is we all as people, we are trying to elect people into, or some other persons into positions to be able to manage some resources on behalf of everybody. Of course, centralization in a way. Okay, and during this election, the way the election is usually done is we will set up a committee or another smaller body to be in charge of the whole election process. So at the end of everything, this committee is trusted to give us the results or handle the whole election thing, do the counting, just to take care of the election process and give us the result. Okay, so indirectly, we are also giving control to a smaller group of people to handle the election process on our behalf. So, but more often than not, this electoral body can manipulate the election process, can do a little manipulation, can do one or two things. We've seen it across different countries in the world, even in the so-called first world countries. All right, so with this whole manipulation going and with everything going, we can see that the whole centralization problem is still there. But with the blockchain, it is possible for us to have an election where there is no central authority and where everything runs smoothly. Because why we trying to bring in the central authority is to enable things to run smoothly. Then there be somebody to manage the whole thing, get the results counted, get everything handled. But with the blockchain, this whole thing can be done properly, and everything still goes smoothly. So we can take away that central body and everything goes fine. So the idea is just for you to try to contemplate anytime where I need a central body, we need to put these people in power, in charge, to be able to handle these kind of things. Most likely and more often than not, the blockchain can replace that situation. Okay, of course, not in every case scenario that the blockchain is going to be able to properly do it. But more often than not, especially when one of the key elements there is record, the blockchain can stand in to decentralize and take away that central authority and make everybody as part of the network, everybody part of the system to have equal power and to be able to decide equally. Okay, so well, let's go on. Finally, I have here: how do we know that something is true or valid? Imagine I tell you something. How do you know it is true? One of the quickest ways, and of course one of the easiest way to know, is to go check a record, isn't it? So usually things must have been recorded. So if someone says this, we try to go check a record to really see if what someone has said matches the record, isn't it? So but the problem is, how do we know that this record is true? So imagine things like a voter's ID or a national ID, or I say this guy is a citizen of this country. What is the official way to verify? Imagine I say, for instance, I'm a Nigerian. Okay, how will you verify that I'm a Nigerian? Truthfully, of course, you might try to. The easiest way for someone that doesn't know me to verify that I'm a Nigerian is to go to the Nigerian database and check. Okay, is this guy there? So, but the problem now is this database also, this record is being managed by some people, and we've seen a lot of times manipulations. Of course, we can see a machinery, a guy that is being hired to do something can change country a lot of times. People just go to the record and tamper and say this guy is no longer from India. They just delete him. It's short. This guy doesn't exist. Wipe him off the database. Give him a new name. Give him a new identity. So we see a lot of manipulations here. But on the blockchain, it is very difficult for one person to come and do that manipulation. It is very difficult for even a body, a very strong big corporation, to come and do that manipulation. At least for a blockchain that is fully developed. Okay, so on the blockchain, these things can be avoided. Another thing I have here is history. I said, yeah, even history. How do we know history is true? There's a common quote that says that history is written by victors. Imagine two people are at war. The one who wins is the one that lives to tell the story. So even if it's the villain, he can try to tell you, hey, I'm the victor here. So history is written by victors. So how do we know that what they've been telling us from history is true? There might be no way to verify. But if the blockchain is there, we can keep a record of every single thing that is happening. And I mean, if we employ the blockchain, and no single person will be able to go there and make some manipulations. So you can see the idea of the blockchain. So the idea of the blockchain is what this example, this point, decentralization, this use case of the blockchain to bring about decentralization is just trying to point to the fact that things that we usually would need to select a single authority or a committee to handle, the blockchain can come and replace them, and we can further trust the whole process because this committee can be manipulative. You can see it on the slide. Centralization definitely has elements of corruption, fraud, and manipulation. This committee can be manipulative. This committee can make some changes or do some tweaks around the whole system. In fact, there was a time I think I heard, it's an hearsay, of course, I've not confirmed myself. In the United States, it was said that after the financial crisis of 2008, some companies were just credited with some amount of money. I mean, from nowhere, they were just credited. So look at even the currency we are earning in. It is printed out of nowhere, out of thin air. Forget that they say there's a lot of economies around it, but take it or leave it. It's being printed out of thin air. So the idea is someone can just go somewhere and do some tweak, do some manipulation, and because they are the central body that's even presenting the whole thing to the whole world to see, you won't even know if it has been manipulated. So, but with the blockchain, even the central body will be more cautious because, of course, they now see that definitely if they can be held accountable, and in fact, they might no longer be needed. So, the blockchain basically can decentralize what used to be centralized, and we all can get the same benefits that we used to get from the centralized body. Of course, not in all cases. So, I believe the decentralization use case of the blockchain is clear. Okay. So let's see a lot of other use cases that, other reasons why the blockchain is important. The other one we have here is trustlessness. Trustlessness. So take for instance, I am currently in Lagos, Nigeria, and I want to get a land in Miami. Okay, I see this guy online, this agent online, or this body online. They say they sell land in Miami. They have photos there. They connect me with some local people there. I spoke to them on phone and all that and blah blah blah. And I'm supposed to make payment for the land even without seeing the land. Normally, that is crazy to do. Forget that I will pick a lawyer. Forget that I will have to do a lot of things, spend a lot of money. It's still crazy to do because I can be easily defrauded. But on the blockchain, I can do things with church people. Even I've not seen them, even I don't trust them, I can do a transaction with them. I can actually make a purchase of that land, knowing fully well that the record is on the blockchain. So on the blockchain, you can do things with people you don't even know, you don't even trust. You're a musician, you write music, you can produce your song with an unknown producer and expect to get your royalty when it's due because it's on the blockchain. So on the blockchain, you don't really need to trust people to do transactions with them. Someone comes and say, hey, I need a loan to be able to do one or two things. I don't know this person. I can give you a loan as long as it's on the blockchain. Because with smart contracts now, a lot of crazy things and amazing things are happening. So on the blockchain, we don't even need to trust ourselves to do things. Then the other reason is security. Security. Most of the banks we have and financial institutions we have, one of the biggest challenges they are facing now is security. Whatever they've used to, whatever software, algorithm or language they've used to program their database, most of these algorithms have proven to be penetrable. Okay, they can be hacked. Banks are constantly losing money year in, year out because one hacker is sitting somewhere day in, day out with the sole aim of looking for the next bank to attack, looking for the next corporation to attack. Okay, I can attack this database here, make some record, taking some money, move some money from one account to the other, since it's just recording the database. So, but with the blockchain, one of the properties of the blockchain is that it is immutable. So with the blockchain, this hacking is going to be so difficult that the hacker can just decide to give up. Of course, when I talk about the blockchain, I mean a fully developed blockchain. So lower blockchain or heavily centralized blockchain can be easily hacked. So, but a fully developed blockchain, it is highly secure that the hacker is going to get so discouraged. He's going to try, and definitely will find this so difficult to break. In fact, I believe the blockchain is one of those technologies that has proven to be extremely difficult to hack. I mean, extremely difficult to hack. So it is highly secure. That's why a lot of corporations, a lot of businesses are really thinking of how to integrate blockchain, especially to manage their record, especially to be able to harness that um, that use case as a secured platform. So one of the beautiful things about blockchain is that it provides you with a great level of security. One we have not witnessed in a long time. Okay, and I believe it is perhaps the most secure technology we have on earth currently. I believe, based on my knowledge. Okay, something can be out there that I don't know of, but based on my knowledge, I think blockchain provides the best and the highest form of security when it is fully matured. Okay. Then the other thing we have here is transparency. Transparency. Of course, it is known of the blockchain that every single thing on the blockchain is transparent. One of the common use cases of the blockchain is the Bitcoin. Okay. So if you want to know the last transaction that just happened on the Bitcoin network, you can go to the Bitcoin blockchain explorer and you can see it. Okay, I'm showing you one at the other side of the slide there, of this video. You can see it there. So the blockchain explorer, you go to the blockchain explorer and you can see the last Bitcoin transaction that just happened, because everything within happening on the blockchain is transparent, especially for a fully decentralized blockchain. Okay, it's super transparent. Of course, when I say fully decentralized, let's call it hypothetically or ideally decentralized blockchain. So everything there is basically transparent. So you can go on the blockchain and see it. So just imagine a company or a government that says, look, all our transactions will be on the blockchain. This is going to be super amazing. The citizens of the country can know, hey, we can really track any spending our government is doing, or we can really track any spending this corporation is doing. For instance, let's say there's an investment firm that runs all these activities on the blockchain. I can comfortably invest in that investment firm because we could go on their blockchain explorer and really check what is happening, how they are managing our funds and every single thing. So with the blockchain, you can access that high level of transparency so that the investment firm is not coming to tell me I did this. Rather, I am actually seeing what the investment firm is doing. So it's like the investment firm is acting and I'm seeing the actions rather than listening to their words. And it's going to be super amazing. So this is one of the beautiful things about the blockchain. Alright, so before I give you a quick recap, let me just bring back the quote you saw at the footnote of the statement of the chapter, Deep Evolution. It says everything changes except change and the on-chain changer. Of course, everything changes except change is a common quote we know of. And of course, there's something that doesn't change from Thomas Aquinas. I love Thomas Aquinas' philosophy. And there's something that doesn't change, which is the on-chain changer. Okay, so let's not delve into more philosophy. So everything changes except change. That is a common phrase. But there's one more thing that doesn't change, which is the on-chain changer. So, but let's come back to the everything changes except change. From history, man always has this yearning. Of course, maybe not always true if we look at it on the philosophical side, but on the actual and on what we are saying clearly, man has this yearning to, for peaceful purpose, want to place control in the hands of another man or another body or another organization, wants to place some level of control in their hands to be able to manage his own affairs. So as a nation, we want to elect a government to manage our affairs for the purpose of peace, to avoid conflict of interest, so that there's a common rule that we all adhere to. So if we don't follow this rule, there's an organization that is due to punish you. And because of this centralization kind of thing, men find solace in doing that. Okay? So that is over the years. But we're beginning to see now with a technology like the blockchain, the narrative is changing. Man is beginning to see, wait, there's a possibility for me to be able to be in control and we all still enjoy this level of solace. Of course, hypothetically speaking, there are a lot of constraints to that, But with the blockchain, there's this new form of yearning for man to be in control of his own thing and still achieve the peace he would be able to achieve with a centralized body. So you can see something is changing. And I believe in the next few years from now, a lot of things will be happening. So You can write your own AI program. You have done something on deep learning. You can deploy it on the blockchain. I can go there and borrow it, have access to what you've done, and you are still in control. No single regulatory body somewhere is in control of the whole thing. So the idea is we all enjoy benefits. We all still maintain full control. We all can interact with ourselves trustlessly in a secure environment, in a transparent environment, without a central body. So the yearning of man, seeing that this is possible, the yearning is now changing, evolving from let us elect a central body to manage our affairs to let us manage our affairs, but with technology, let's make it decentralized and let's still have rules of the game that we all follow. So I believe you've been able to pick one of these, even though it's not so clear, it's going to get clearer with time, okay? Because we still have a lot to cover. I don't want to dive too much into the philosophy, but the beautiful thing is everything changes except change, and definitely the unchanged changer. We can see things are changing, times are changing, man is evolving, okay? And so that is basically it. Mankind is changing, moving from the centralized era to something that is more decentralized. And this can really give a lot of challenge to the globalist, okay? Because really man in his own self is moving from decentralized to the decentralized. Just a quick recap of basically what I've been saying about the blockchain. The first part we looked at now is why the blockchain. Why should we give a damn about the blockchain? And I've been able to state 4 reasons. The first is decentralization, of course, or removing the middleman. Things you will have done with the middleman, you can take away the middleman, and we will still be able to get these things done. Okay. The second thing we have is trustlessness. I can do things with you without even knowing you, without even trusting you. The other thing we have is security. I mean, blockchain is heavily secured. It's one of those technologies that has proven, so hard to hack. Then the other thing that we have is transparency. Everything on the blockchain is transparent, at least for a public blockchain. So you can go there and really see what is happening. So if you look at this why, I've said a lot about it. Okay, if you've listened to this why and you think this makes a lot of sense, I would like to work in a form of technology that gives this vibe. I mean, that solves this problem. And I think this course is for you. Okay, then I believe I've not exhausted the old reasons, because as the blockchain is growing, as it's expanding, it's touching a lot a lot of other reasons, because more and more things are being added, more and more features are being added. But at the core, these are the 4 reasons I believe everything revolves around. So by now, as time goes on, as we evolve, we're going to see more and more use cases of the blockchain. And this is 2021, of course. So by 2040, 2050, it's going to be crazy. So let's see the second part of this chapter. All right. And don't forget, everything changes except change and the unchanged changer. Every single thing changes.